So I got the inevitable question. I've been making posts trying to keep people up to date on what might be the important takeaways, trying to capture what those might be and post them on my page. And I got the inevitable question, what does this all mean? And so this is going to have different meaning to different people based on your eschatological beliefs. If you don't believe that we're in the end times or that the things about Daniel or Revelation are history, then this probably doesn't matter to you at all. Or it might not matter to you if you're just not interested in Bible prophecy, at which point you're not going to be watching this video. If you believe that we are approaching the end of the end times, then this is going to have some meaning for you, maybe a lot or a little, but it's going to have some meaning for you because there are prophecies that are going to lead into the start of the 70th week. Depending again on your eschatological beliefs. And for me, that's Gog and Magog. And I realize that there are a lot of people talking about Psalm 83 or Isaiah 17 or things like that. There are a lot of prophecies in play that people are talking about. Mine specifically is what I believe is next up prophetically is, if not the rapture of the church, then the battle of Gog and Magog. And in that prophecy in Ezekiel 38 and 39, understanding that the tail end of 39 is about Israel being restored, Israel being restored in kingdom. There are pieces of Isaiah 36 and 37 and 39 which lead into Israel being restored in kingdom. And then the chapter 40 through 48 is a kingdom prophecy, although it has ties to the 70th week because part of the whole accepting the one who comes in the place of Christ and doing things that are related to kingdom will relate to the 70th week because obviously Israel's going to believe themselves in kingdom when they're not. So there are specific things that are tied to what we would think would be tied to kingdom that are going to be tied to the 70th week, specifically the temple. It's the whole reason they rebuild the temple is because they believe that they're honoring their Messiah, but it's the one who comes in the place of Christ. They're going to reinstitute their sacrificial system, and that is what Daniel 9:27 is predicated upon. Now, if you understand or believe or share the same idea as me that the 70th week is linked to Ezekiel's temple, then you understand that directly before Ezekiel's temple gets built is the Battle of Gog and Magog. And in the Battle of Gog and Magog, you have Israel alone. Whether it's that she has no allies or no allies that would come, whether they could and they don't, or they can't so they don't, we have bones of the prophecy. What we understand at the foundation of the prophecy is that Israel is alone, and there is a ground invasion of essentially a Muslim coalition coming against Israel. And that's North African nations, that's people from the north, people from the east. But it's a Muslim coalition of people who are trying to take a spoil and to take a prey. They're trying to take the land away from the people of Israel. And God puts a stop to it. He decimates the army that comes against him. And then that's going to lead into the reestablishment of the Mosaic covenant, the rebuilding of the temple, and ultimately the 70th week. So what I'm looking at specifically out of this trip is specifically out of Trump's presidency on the whole, but specifically out of this Middle East trip, is looking at increased understanding of why a situation is going to exist that's going to facilitate Ezekiel 38 and 39 occurring. How is it that Israel is going to be alone? We see increased distance between the United States and Israel right now because there is an ongoing war in Gaza with hostages and with Hamas that the United States is backing away from, are being overtly critical of in a couple of different ways. And so what I'm looking at from this is simply increased understanding about how the situation can and will exist as is prophesied about Ezekiel 38 and 39. Obviously, if you have different beliefs about the timing of those prophecies or whether they're future or past, all of that is going to play into whether you derive any type of meaning or understanding from what is going on. If you share wildly different eschatological beliefs, then you're going to not see the same thing that a lot of us see. Because your your belief system is going to drive the meaning that you do or do not take from these. So to ask what's the point? Well, we're looking at the setup for Ezekiel 38 and 39. The problem is that, and I don't know that it's a problem, but there are a lot of people who want details and insert details and try to say, well, it could happen this way because of this, and it's speculation. And I do my best to avoid that outside of trying to find a biblical framework for the end times. I try to avoid speculation at all times because what I think might sound good or reasonable might be wildly off base. And so I don't have the foreknowledge that God does. I just have the Bible to read and to link together and tie together. So there are a lot of people who are trying to get very, very detailed about what this is and kind of project out what's going to happen beyond what we're told in the Bible. And I don't operate that way. I'm just wait and see. Just wait and see for things that will provide increased understanding or clarification. Because we don't have all of the details. The prophecy was written in two different ways. It was based in God's foreknowledge that it's going to be used to bring about a paradigm shift at the appointed time and into the future for the 70th week. But it was also looking at history, or looking down the timeline of world history and saying, because the conditions exist at this time, I can use them to facilitate my purpose, which is the Muslims hating Israel and Israel being all alone. So what we're looking at right now is the shaping of that situation where Israel is all alone, to where if there is a ground invasion of Muslims, no one would be there to defend Israel. And God would do that for them, and then open their hearts in a way that are not presently opened in order to facilitate change spiritually and physically for them, which is via the 70th week, because they obviously are not going to recognize Jesus out of that, at least not immediately. So what is the purpose of all of this? Why am I posting? Because we're trying to understand more of the situationality of how Gog and Magog is going to be facilitated with Israel being alone. And all of these things are obviously shaping the future, because one of the first things that occurs after the rapture and the opening of the seals is the second seal is peace being taken from the earth. And specifically, Jesus talks about this in Matthew 24, where it says, nation shall rise. What does he say? Regarding seal 1, he says, many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, shall deceive many. That's related to Daniel 9:27, confirming the covenant with Israel for the predicated upon the rebuilding of the temple and the reinstitution of the sacrificial system. And then he says, you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, see that ye not be troubled. All these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. The end is characterized by their time in Jerusalem, ending at the midpoint of the 70th week with their flight out of Jerusalem. It's referenced other times, I think verse 13 and 14 perhaps, but it's referenced other times in the chapter. So the end is the midpoint of the 70th week. Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. So those are things that are going to occur in the immediate aftermath of the rapture, and the immediate start of the 70th week is peace being taken from the earth. It's going to be person versus person, nation versus nation, country versus country. So what we see is Trump trying to make peace through strength. What we see in the immediate aftermath of the rapture of the church is that that's going to change, and there's going to be no human capable of making peace. It will be Jesus who's going to rule with a rod of iron in the millennial kingdom. No one before that will be able to effect such change. They can try, it will not be successful. So what you are seeing is man attempting to do what only God can, and it's going to lead into a place where it's demonstrable that only God can, only God will. So that is the purpose of watching. And again, if you don't share the same eschatological beliefs or the same beliefs about what's up next, if you're looking for other things, we derive meaning from that which is important or that which we have understood a certain way. So if your understanding is different, then clearly the same things that have meaning to me are not going to have meaning to you. And so that's what we're trying to do here, is teach the Bible in context so that we're all kind of on the same page as far as what's up next, and we can not look forward to, but look at certain things through the lens of understanding why they are or are not important. So that's that. See you guys later.